Stella.
Hi, it's so lovely to be here. I'm such a big fan of Converge and everything that you do.
Oh, thank you so much for your support. That means a lot. Well, I want to start off with your role at PNB. You are in this amazing fellowship. I want you to tell us all about it. How did you get started?
So, one thing about me is that I immigrated from the Philippines to this greater Seattle area. So, I actually grew up in Redmond. And then I went away for 4 years, went to college super far, all the way in the middle of nowhere in Maine, and where I studied art. It was my dream to go work in the arts. And when I heard about the fellowship, I decided to come back home and do something for my community and go back and um, do something for the community that raised me specifically. So this is actually my first time working in the performing arts, and the fellowship is structured that it's for BIPOC emerging arts leaders. So I also want to shout out my amazing co-fellows at the Opera, at King FM, and and at the Symphony. We're a group of people that are just trying to make changes out here in the arts world here in Seattle.
Well, it's great to hear that PNB is a part of something like this. And I absolutely agree. The need for there to be direct pathways into performing arts careers is so necessary right now. I mean, it is apparent that we need more diverse voices helping to bring stories to life in these amazing venues and formats. So far, how have you been experiencing this fellowship with your amazing cohort?
I feel as if I've been doing work that means so much to me and to my heart. One of the things that I help really facilitate at PNB is our sensory friendly season. And I never thought, especially coming straight out of college, I would be blessed enough to do work that truly fulfills me, not in just my work experience and what I can do to set myself up for the future, but deep in my soul as well.
Yeah, well, that's necessary. I mean, you realize that there's a lot of different things out here, but when you can find your own pathway to say, this is really what I'm here to do, and these are the ways that really excited to serve, there's something that's so unique about the pairing of that. And so it's great because you're experiencing that now straight out of college. And so kudos to you for, stepping out there and applying for this fellowship. What were some of the things you were really looking to get out of it when you did do that application process?
I was looking to honestly meet more people of color in the arts in Seattle. I grew up going to a lot of community programming, and especially because I would commute from Redmond, the east side, on the bus or whatever, a lot of the people who were participating were white or were people that didn't necessarily look like me. So it was important to me that I build that community and that network. And that's also what I've gotten out of the fellowship. And specifically to PNB as well, it's not as if I was only given space. I'm also listened to and I'm taken very seriously, and I feel as if my perspective is constructive towards the broader culture of our organization, not just as a face or not just as a statistic to add diversity into the company.
Yeah, no, that's important. I think they have to come with an authentic approach so that all of you fellows really feel that you belong there. And I love hearing that you're saying your voice is necessary and it's something that is meaningful and really adding value to what PNB is doing. I mean, one of the things that I've been able to experience specifically about PNB and their approach to art is that this is a art form that many in communities say, "Oh, I don't know if that's for me. There's not enough dancers who look like me. There's not enough representation." But to create this type of fellowship, they're being very intentional about saying, no, we really do want to make sure that everyone feels that. When you think about some of your family members now being able to experience what you're helping to co-create, how does that land on you? Because now maybe they can come and see how your voice is lending value to PNB and bringing more diversity to what they create.
I think that is such an important point to bring up because I am a first generation US college graduate. My parents moved us into this country and didn't really expect me to go into the arts, especially coming from an Asian background. I think the culture is really be a doctor, be a lawyer, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, kind of coming out to them at the end of my freshman year that what I declared my major to be was art history was not an easy task. It was already bad that I went all the way to Maine, 3,000 miles away from home, just to pursue my education, but also that I came back home and said, I'm going to study what I want to study. And it was a lot for my parents to grapple, I think, to fully support me. But once they saw the opportunities coming in, how my hard work paid off, and especially with a full-time position at PNB with this fellowship, it was no question to them that my dreams don't have to be compromised in order for me to be successful in
Yeah,
life.
yeah, no, that's such a beautiful story, Stella, and I agree. As someone who clearly pursued communication in all types of art forms, it was one of those things where having family support means something so serious, especially as a young person finding your voice and finding your way. So, congratulations to your parents too for recognizing that this is where your happy place was, and all they probably wanted was for you to have that sense of self and for you to actually enjoy what you're doing. It's one thing to go into a field and to make money and to let that be the driving force, but oftentimes we find that there's a huge void that happens there when you're not fulfilling what your actual purpose is. So it's also great to hear that as an art history major, you're able to utilize what you learned at college. And so how does that feel for you to know that, like, a lot of folks say, oh my gosh, are you sure art hits? What are you going to do with that degree? And now you've really found your way there. What are some of the things that you feel like you really bring to it because of your study in college?
I believe the number one thing I learned in college was to truly advocate for myself. That's not a hard skill that you can learn. It took a lot of time. I went to a predominantly white institution, and I went to a very rich school. Like, at least 20% of the student population at my college was in the 1% of America.
Wow.
That that's daunting, and that's really scary, and there were lots of instances of racial harassment and even violence on my campus that I and a lot of my friends really advocated against and to input policies. So for me, it was even letting myself know that I was able to take up space in an institution like that was the hardest battle. It wasn't the classes, it wasn't interacting with professors, it wasn't it wasn't having to work multiple jobs while being a student. It was just reconciling with myself that I was allowed to take up that space. And also, the arts are notoriously white. It's
Mhm.
also notoriously, I would say, like, upper class.
Yeah.
The access to them is changing, but that's something I want to change as well. And I feel as if I come to this position, I can't when I come to this position, I can never truly separate my own identity and what I've been through when I do this role. That's always in my perspective. That's ingrained in everything I do. When I look at our community programs like Discover Dance, when I put on these sensory friendly shows, I always have to take in that angle. And also with my studies, because it was humanities based, you learn to just talk to different people. I understand and acknowledge I don't have every perspective needed in order to create the arts accessible, but what I can do is enable other voices, empower other people, and tell people, hey, maybe this is the person we need to talk to in order for us to actually have a fully realized vision of what we're doing at PNB.
Oh my God, you're giving me chills. Like I could cry. This is beautiful, Stella. You are in the right position at the right time, girlfriend. Let me tell you. And it's beautiful to hear your passion behind your role in this fellowship. And kudos again to, all of the venues that have said we need this kind of voice and we need to empower, folks like Stella and others to really understand that their voice matters here and that your value is insurmountable in terms of what PNB is going to gain from you bringing that specific perspective and lived experience. So kudos to you. Of course, I got to give you time. I could talk to you for all day, but I got to give you time to make sure folks know how to tap into some of the programming you're doing. Let them know what the website, how do they tap in, Stella?
Yes, probably our my biggest responsibility is organizing the sensory friendly season for the Pacific Northwest Ballet. We have an upcoming performance of a sensory friendly Snow White on March 24th at 10:30 a.m. You can find tickets at pnb.org. A great Something I want to explain is what exactly a sensory friendly performance is. A friendly performance is a performance catered to different uh, to audiences who would like a space in which they might be a little bit more accepted in how they perceive and take in the performance. So different things that we do are give everyone fidgets. People can bring in whatever sensory materials they need in order to process the show. We also have quiet rooms where people can watch the performance in taking their access needs as well. And we also have movement stations, and we also work with Sensory Access, a local nonprofit that that provides that provides consulting with us on how we can make these shows more accessible. We do two sensory performance friendly performances a season, but and our next one is on March 24th.
Wow, you did it. You did it. You put it all in there.
Yes.
You made sure you got it
Yes.
in. And thank you so much for sharing your background, your story, and really why you're positioned so perfectly for the role that you're doing within this fellowship and bringing these sensory performances that are necessary, for so many different audiences. That's another way to really open up the doors in terms of diversity so people can experience the shows in the ways they need to. Stella, thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
work.
Thank you.
Absolutely.